This is the Champions League, the biggest football club competition in the world. Many clubs have won it all over the years, but the question is, who will win this year's Champions League? So in today's video, I will be predicting the winner of the Champions League. So let's start off with the first match of the quarterfinals, Arsenal versus Bayern. Arsenal fans might want to forget the last 3 times their club met Bayern because it was so embarrassing. Bayern won 5-1 against Arsenal in their last 3 meetings, but don't write Arsenal off because they have been in great form recently. However, Bayern have been in horrendous form as they lost to Borussia Dortmund at home. But this is the Champions League, not the Bundesliga, and Bayern does have a lot of experience in this competition, so I think Bayern will go through. Next up, we have the big one, Real Madrid versus Manchester City, the club that won the Champions League the most times versus the treble winners. This is a very tough one to predict because both teams are the favorites to win the Champions League, and whoever wins this tie could win the whole thing. Now, last time they faced each other in the Champions League, ManCity absolutely battered them 4-0 in the second leg at the Etihad Stadium. But it is still hard to predict who will win this time because both teams are in great form in the Champions League as they are the only team that won all their group matches. And also, both teams are plagued with injuries. ManCity have Kyle Walker, Ederson, Nathan Ake and Stones injured, while Real Madrid have Courtois, Militao, Alaba and Valverde injured. And on top of that, Tchouaméni, Vinny Jr. and JudeBellingham have 1 yellow card off suspension in the Champions League. Moreover, the second leg being played at the Etihad Stadium makes me believe ManCity have the edge over Real Madrid because they have never won a game in the Etihad Stadium, so I believe ManCity will win. Next up, we have Barcelona versus PSG. If this was 5 years ago, this would be the most interesting matchup, but now both teams have weakened, especially Barcelona. Now, one of the things that PSG have that Barcelona doesn't is that PSG have Mbappe, and the last time Mbappe faced Barca in the Champions League, he scored 4 goals in both legs, and I believe he will be the main factor that makes PSG win over Barca. I'm sorry Barca fans, but I believe PSG will go through. Now we have the last matchup for the quarterfinals. It's AtleticoMadrid versus Dortmund. No one expected both teams to be in the quarterfinals, but they are here. I believe Atletico Madrid will go through because they have just beaten Inter Milan, a very tough team in the run of 16. Although it may be tough for Atletico Madrid to go to the yellow wall of Dortmund, their form in the Wanda Metropolitano, their home stadium, is just outstanding. So that's why I think Atletico will beat Dortmund. Now, the semi-final matchups are ManCity versus Bayern and PSG versus Atletico Madrid. Starting with ManCity versus Bayern, the last time these two met in the Champions League, ManCity beat Bayern with the aggregate of 4-1. And I think this time it will be no different. Thomas Tuchel is just not good enough for Bayern. And although they have Harry Kane, who is very familiar with scoring against Manchester City, I think ManCity will go to the final. Our last semi-final match would be PSG versus Atletico Madrid. These two sides have never faced each other before, so it will be difficult to predict, but I think PSG will beat Atletico Madrid just because PSG have a Mbappe who really likes to score against Spanish opponents. So now we have the final, ManCity versus PSG. Haaland versus Mbappe. PSG have never won the Champions League before, so Mbappe will try his best to win their first one before he leaves to Real Madrid, and I think Mbappe has the ability to do that because we've seen what he's capable of in the World Cup final. However, the stadium of the final, Wembley Stadium, is basically ManCity's second home as they have won countless different finals in Wembley Stadium, and Pep Guardiola knows how to win the Champions League final in the stadium as he did win it in 2011 here. But the question is, who will win the final? Will it be Kylian Mbappe dragging his team to their first ever Champions League glory, which cements Mbappe as the club's greatest ever player? Or will ManCity extend their European dominance? I'm sorry guys, but I believe that PSG will lose to ManCity because seriously, what's stopping them from winning another Champions League? So that is my prediction on who will win the Champions League. But what are your predictions? Comment down below, and before you leave, why don't you watch this video about an underrated player who's secretly the best footballer in the world.